Hi there, everyone. This is Jennifer McGuire. Welcome. Today, I wanted to show you yet another way to use your stamp layering stamp sets, and this one is with Vellum. Now, this technique is fabulous for any stamp set that you might have trouble lining up just perfectly when you stamp, or just another look that you can get from any of your favorite layering stamp sets. Another great thing about this technique is you only need one ink color, and you can create all of the layers. So this is the stamp set I'm focusing on today from Altenew. I like that it had a large floral image and then the layered leaves also. Now for this, again, you only need one ink. I recommend a darker color ink, and you need white cardstock and vellum. So I'm going to start with the bottom layer first, that most solid image there on the bottom. I'm going to stamp that onto white cardstock. Since this is a solid image, I'm putting a piece of craft foam behind it just to give a little cushion to help me stamp the solid image. You could skip that if you wanted to. I'm using Deep Iris, which is a dark purple ink from Altenew, and I'm stamping the solid image on white cardstock. I'm also going to do the leaves at the same time. So the most solid leaf image, I'm stamping that with Altenew Moss ink. I'm going to do a couple because I plan to do a few little leaf clusters on my project. Now the next two layers for my stamping are going to be on vellum. The vellum I'm using today is from this variety pack that you see here. In this variety pack, there is lightweight vellum, there's silver vellum, gold vellum, parchment vellum, marble vellum. There's a bunch of different options in here. You can see the different varieties here. I am just going with the regular good old-fashioned vellum. And in this pack, what I like is that it's a very lightweight vellum. Normally, I like a heavyweight vellum. But in this case, I think lightweight works best because it shows the layers through better. However, if whatever vellum you have will work, so just try whatever you have. Even heavyweight works great for this. I did test it out, but I decided to go with the lightweight. So I'm stamping with the same colors of ink. Again, this is the Deep Iris, and I'm stamping the second layer image, and then I'm going to stamp the third layer image also on vellum. Now this is a dye ink on the vellum. It will be wet for a very long time. If you want to dry it as is, you want to heat set it, and you can heat set this with no problem. The color will soften a little bit, but it'll still look lovely. However, today I thought I'd go ahead and clear heat emboss this. Since that ink is wet, it will hold onto the powder and then you can heat set it. Just make sure you warm up your heat gun first so you don't warp the vellum, but you can see I have no problem here. So now I have a purple image that's actually sheer. You can see through it because this is on vellum and because it's a dye ink with clear embossing powder on it, but it has a beautiful shine to it. Again, you don't have to clear heat emboss if you don't want to. I'm going to do the same thing with the second and third layer images of the leaves. Again, I'm using the same moss color, stamping it on the vellum, and adding my clear embossing powder. So I'm kind of creating all the layers of the flower and all the layers of two leaf clusters all at once. And now we can go ahead and put them together. Now I wanted to glue the first layer down onto the cardstock piece. So I'm putting tiny little pieces of double-sided tape on the back of this vellum piece, hiding it behind the heat embossing. I found that works best, but you could use any adhesive that you like with vellum. So now I'm going to take this piece and kind of hover it over our cardstock piece. And I'm going to keep rotating it until I get it lined up. So this is where it really makes it easy for lining things up, because all I have to do is keep turning it until I see how it is supposed to be lined up, and then I can move it around until it is in perfect position. This makes it super easy. So if you have a stamp set that you struggle to stamp the two layers on top of each other, you could do this trick instead. So you can see how you get the layered look already. I'm going to do the same thing with the third layer on this, putting some adhesive down, and now I can spin this around over it until it is positioned perfectly, and then press it into place. And check it out, it looks like I used 3 shades of purple ink, light for the bottom layer, medium for the second layer, and dark for the top. But really, we used 1 ink color and vellum to help kind of hide some of the color below. It's really beautiful in real life. Okay, so now I'm going to take my coordinating die and place it right around the flower and use a piece of tape to hold it in place as I run it through my die cut machine. Now, since this vellum is thin, most vellums are thin, it will die cut through all the layers with no problem. And then I will have this gorgeous layered flower with the vellum. If you wanted to, you didn't have to adhere all of the vellum pieces together. Just hold them as you die cut them, and then use some foam tape to maybe pop the layers apart if you wanted. If you don't have the coordinating die, you could just hold the 3 layers together or tape them together while you hand cut around it. These are pretty easy images to hand cut around, but I happen to have the coordinating dies, so I decided to use those. Now I did the same thing for all of the leaves. I did a bunch of leaves since I was doing so many cards. Did the coordinating die again, and there we have a vellum layered flower and leaf. So I did several examples here. So the purple I showed you before was Altenew Deep Iris. The bluish color there is the Lagoon color. I used the Velvet color for the red, and I believe it's the Fired Brick here for this orange kind of poppy color. It's such a beautiful color. And then, of course, I used moss for all of the leaves. So now that I have all my stamped pieces created, I wanted to show you how I turn these into cards. And you'll see that I changed directions a few times during this process. I have 2 stitch dies that are a rectangle shape that I'm going to tape together on the back with some temporary tape just to hold into a frame shape. I want them to be evenly spaced. Now I can run this through my die cut machine with white cardstock, and I'll end up with a stitched frame. And I just thought it would be a nice highlight around the outside edge of my card. So on the back of this, I'm going to put double-sided tape. Now my double-sided tape was too wide, so I'm just cutting it right down the center to make it narrow. And because I'm going to put these in the mail, I decided to put double-sided tape all the way around the frame so that it didn't get squished and it would hold up nicely in the envelope. Now the flower that I used is very large, so I wanted it to look like it was kind of coming out from the corner of the frame. So I'm going to remove just 2 pieces of the release paper, just the bottom corner there, and I'm going to kind of tuck my little flower in there so that part of it is on top of the frame and part is behind it. And I'll press it down so that double-sided tape is holding the left side of that flower there. There are a million ways you can do this, but this was the way that made the most sense to me. Now, I originally thought I was going to stamp entire background of this card. So I stamped repeatedly with a thank you greeting from the same stamp set that I've been using all along in this video. And I stamped it with a light pool colored ink. Now you can see the results here. I liked the look of this in the background, but once I put the flowers on it, it was a little busy. So you're going to see me put this all in place and then I'm going to tear it up. So I just glued that onto a pool card. And now I can go ahead and remove the rest of my release paper on the double-sided tape, trim a little of the flower off, and also put a piece of foam tape on the back of that flower just to make sure that it's secure and it's popped up nicely. Then I can put this onto my card. This is where I kind of felt like I hit a wall. I wasn't sure what to do. I felt like there was too much blue in the bottom left corner and I needed some blue somewhere else. So I decided to create a little bud that would kind of match, and I used the Altenew Garden Treasure stamp set. This is my favorite of the Altenew stamp sets this year, and it was a perfect match for the flower that I'm creating. So don't be afraid to mix up your floral stamp sets. I created the bud just like I did the large flower. I did the solid image on the cardstock first. Then I did the 2-layer images on vellum and heat embossed it. So in this case, the coordinating die for this stamp set actually cuts out the bud and the little stem up to it. So I went ahead and stamped them and heat embossed them together. So here I'm going to show you how they layer on top of each other. And then all I need is the coordinating die to cut that out. So same technique that I did for the large flower, but I just wanted a little bud to kind of coordinate with it. After playing with all the pieces, I decided I really wanted to take out that repeated sentiment background. It was just a little distracting in this case. So I was very careful to keep the frame and the flower intact and just tear off the sentiment background and replace it with a solid white one. So don't be afraid to take a card apart. I usually put things down lightly until I'm sure I like where they are. Then I press them down firmly. Sometimes you just need to change things as you go to feel better about where the card is headed. I did have to replace one piece of foam tape underneath the flower, but the rest of it was good enough. I didn't press it all down until I was certain, and in this case I was thankful I did that because I was able to make the change I wanted to make. Now for this sentiment, I decided to go with a gold die cut thank you. So this is a gold cardstock from Altenew. It's great because it's not too shiny, but not too dull. It's a nice foil cardstock. I'm putting some Stick-It double-sided adhesive on the back of this. So this is a large piece of gold cardstock, bigger than I need, and I'm covering the entire back of it with the double-sided tape. This way I can cut out the piece I need to just die cut these small words, but then I have lots of gold cardstock with adhesive on it that I can use on future cards. I do this with white cardstock, black, gold, and glitter cardstock so that it's ready to go anytime I want to use it for die cutting sentiments. That way the adhesive's on the back and I don't have to take the time to do it each time. So now that I have my sentiment ready, it's time to glue everything down. I'm just putting some double-sided tape behind the little leaves and I'm tucking them behind the large flower. And I can go later if I want to and squirt a little bit of strong liquid adhesive behind any places that don't feel like they're holding just perfectly. But really this double-sided tape is strong, so it should be okay. And there we have the little bud that I feel kind of balances out that pool color. Now I can add my little sentiment right on top of the flower there. Since this has the adhesive on the back, it's very easy to do. All I need to do is kind of hook the release paper and pull that off and put it on the flower. The nice thing about Stick It double-sided adhesive is that it doesn't stay stuck until you press it down firmly. So I like to use a bone folder to rub back and forth over it to really press it into place. But until you do that, you can move it around until you're sure you like the position. Now, since the U is kind of hanging off the flower, I'm going to put a little bit of anti-static powder tool behind it to remove some of the stick so that it just kind of floats hanging off there instead of pressing down onto the background. I added some gold embellishments. These are tiny little dots from Hero Arts. They have the adhesive on the back. They're perfectly gold, shiny, smooth, and pretty flat, so they're great for mailing, and it ties in nicely with the gold sentiment that we have in the center. So I thought I'd show you a closer look at the examples that I made today. This is the Lagoon ink. It gives you like a nice pool color. I did a coordinating envelope where I white heat embossed "Thank you for your kindness." That sentiment is in the same Floral Altenew stamp set. This one uses the Altenew Fire Brick ink. This is like a dark orange, but it looks like a coral color when you do the stamp layering on vellum. It's absolutely beautiful. This is probably my favorite of the bunch. Here is the red velvet, so you can see what a deep, rich ink looks like with this stamp layering on vellum. It's a different look. Try whatever ink colors you have. Again, I find it works best with darker inks since you have the vellum on top. So there is the deep iris example. And then my final example, I actually used a different design. This one has a rectangle of white wood grain cardstock. So you can see the little wood grain in that. And I just glued all the pieces on top to keep it kind of simple. So there you have a way to get more from your stamp layering stamp sets by using vellum, and that way you only need one color of ink. I have all the supplies linked below in my YouTube description, so be sure to check that out. Also go to my blog, there will be much more information for you there. And in the middle, I have 2 more videos that are related that you might be interested in checking out. Thanks so much for stopping by, and I hope you'll return again soon.